The council chamber was silent. 1,000 alien eyes looked toward the center of the hall where a great table floated above glowing light. The Galactic Council had been called for an emergency meeting, and that never happened without reason. Representatives of many species filled the seats. Some were tall with scaled bodies, others small and covered in fur. Some spoke in whispers, some only stared with glowing eyes. All waited for the elders to speak. Something important had been discovered. Something dangerous. At the far end of the chamber, Elder Zhir, one of the oldest leaders in the galaxy, rose from his seat. His skin was thin and pale, his eyes heavy with memory. He spoke in a voice that made the air vibrate. "The sealed archive has been opened," he said. "The truth has been revealed. And it is about humanity." The word itself caused murmurs to spread. Humanity. A young species from a small blue planet. Fragile. Loud. Reckless. Many in the chamber considered them nothing special. Yet the elders looked uneasy, even afraid. One young alien leaned toward his companion and whispered, "Humans? Why do the elders fear them? They are weak. They do not have fleets as large as ours. They do not have weapons as powerful as ours. What is there to fear?" His companion only shook his head. "Wait," he said. "You will understand soon." Elder Zhir continued. He raised his hand and the table lit up with holograms of strange symbols. Old runes that none of the younger races recognized. "This file was locked away 10,000 years ago," Zhir said. "It was forbidden to open it. But now we had no choice. For inside these symbols lies the true name of humanity." The hall grew restless. A representative from the Goran Empire slammed his clawed hand against the table. "This is madness," he growled. "Humans are children. They only left their world a short time ago. How can they matter to the galaxy?" Another voice joined, this time high and sharp. "Yes. Their ships are small. Their technology is crude. They are nothing compared to us." But the elders did not answer. Their silence was heavier than words. A deep voice finally spoke from the shadows. Elder Kaler, whose species had lived through wars long before others were even born. His eyes glowed like dying suns. "You are wrong," Kaler said slowly. "You do not understand. We have seen this before. We have fought this before. We survived, barely. And we promised never to speak of it again." His words made the chamber colder. A hush spread. The younger races shifted uncomfortably. They had never seen the elders like this. The oldest and strongest beings in the galaxy looked afraid. Afraid of humans. Why? The question hung in every mind. Elder Zhir lowered his voice, and it cracked with age. "The file tells us that humanity is not their real name. It is the name they use now. But long ago, they were called something else. Something terrible." His hands trembled as he touched the symbols. They glowed brighter, filling the chamber with golden light. Whispers echoed. Some recognized the sound of the symbols. Others felt their bodies freeze without knowing why. One young delegate finally shouted, "What is this name? Tell us. We demand to know." But no answer came at first. Zhir closed his eyes. He seemed to struggle, as if the very act of speaking the truth was dangerous. Then, in a slow breath, he said, "This name once made empires fall. It once silenced whole galaxies. To speak it is to remember fear." The chamber shivered. The light dimmed. Everyone leaned forward, waiting. But Zhir stopped. He looked around the room, at every face staring back, and said only this: "The name will be spoken. But not today. First you must see what lies within the archive." The table shifted again. New images appeared. Records of ancient wars. Broken planets. Fallen empires. Bones scattered across dead worlds. Creatures with burning eyes and endless hunger. A history erased from memory, sealed away so no one would ever know. Yet now the truth was open. Gasps filled the chamber. Some delegates shouted in denial. Lies. Fabrications. This cannot be real. Others sat in silence, trembling. They could see the fear in the elders' eyes and knew it must be true. Humanity, the weak young race from Earth, was tied to this nightmare past. Elder Kaler spoke once more, his voice heavy as stone. Do you think it is chance that humans rise so quickly? Do you think it is chance they fight wars against themselves and still survive? No. It is in their blood. It is in their name. The chamber shook as voices rose. Some demanded that humanity be destroyed before it was too late. Others shouted for caution. A few even whispered that perhaps humanity could be used. But the question remained, sharp and dangerous in every mind. What was humanity's real name? As the meeting closed, Elder Jaer gave one final warning. The galaxy thinks humanity is harmless. But soon all will learn the truth. When their name is spoken, the stars themselves will tremble. And with that, the chamber went dark. The chamber remained heavy with silence long after the meeting ended. Delegates left with unsettled hearts, but the elders stayed behind. They gathered around the glowing table, where the forbidden archive still pulsed with golden light. None of them wanted to look closer, yet none could look away. For 10,000 years this archive had remained locked. It was said that opening it would invite shadows back into the galaxy. And now those shadows stirred again. Elder Jaer's trembling hands hovered above the runes. His voice broke the silence. The truth inside this archive is older than all of us. Older than our council. Older than most of our civilizations. It was hidden to protect us. But if humanity is truly connected, then we can no longer pretend it does not exist. Around him the elders exchanged uneasy glances. Elder Kaler leaned forward, his sharp features lit by the glow. Show them, he said. The younger species must see what we saw long ago. Only then will they understand. Jaer hesitated, but finally touched the runes. The light flared, filling the room with shifting images. A frozen battlefield appeared in the air above the table. A planet cracked open like a broken egg. Space littered with shattered ships. Bones larger than cities drifted across the void. Gasps escaped even the elders who had seen it before. The younger aides who remained in the chamber covered their faces in shock. Jaer's voice was heavy. This was the first war. Not the first between empires, but the first against them. The ones who bore the name now tied to humanity. The images shifted again. Beings of terrible design walked across ruined landscapes. They were humanoid but taller, stronger, built for battle. Their eyes glowed like burning coals, their mouths curved into shapes of endless hunger. Each step they took crushed stone. Each scream they gave carried across the stars. The sight was enough to make younger species tremble in their seats. One aide, a small feathered alien, whispered, "But they look like humans. Only larger. Only more terrifying." Kaler nodded slowly. "Yes. That is why the truth cannot be ignored." Another elder, Ural, spoke with sorrow. "Our ancestors fought them for centuries. We joined together not out of peace, but survival. Many of our worlds were burned to dust. Entire empires vanished. And when victory finally came, we did not win by strength. We won by erasing them. We struck at their memory. We buried their name. We forbade it to ever be spoken again." The chamber dimmed as the images turned darker. Endless warfields. Galaxies scarred. Voices of billions screaming before silence. The aides shook with fear. One of them shouted, "But this cannot be humanity. They are nothing like this. Humans are weak. They bleed. They die so easily." Elder Kaler turned his gaze to him. His eyes glowed with pity. "Weak. Perhaps today. But do you not see how fast they rise? How quickly they spread? They have lived only a short time among the stars, and already they are everywhere. They survive where others fail. They adapt. They change. And in their blood, the old fire sleeps. Jer raised his hand and the images stopped. The chamber fell into silence again. He spoke carefully, each word like stone. The younger races laugh at humanity. They call them reckless, stubborn, fragile. But I tell you, fragility is their mask. Their true name holds power you cannot imagine. If they remember it, if they awaken it, the galaxy will not survive. The aides began to argue. Some shouted that the elders were blinded by fear, holding on to old legends. Others insisted that humanity must be destroyed before it was too late. The noise grew loud, echoing off the ancient walls. But the elders did not argue. They knew what they had seen. They had fought against it. They had buried it. And now it was returning. Kaler finally spoke over the noise. His voice was sharp as a blade. You think this is a story? You think it is a myth? Then listen. I lost my home to them. My world was reduced to ash. My family, my people, all gone. Do you think I fear shadows? No. I fear the truth. And the truth is that they are back. Whether reborn or rediscovered, humanity carries their mark. His words struck the chamber like thunder. No one spoke after that. Jer closed the archive slowly. The golden light faded into silence. The chamber was left in darkness, only the faint hum of the station around them. His last words carried through the silence. The council must decide soon. Do we hide the truth again and hope humanity never learns? Or do we act before it is too late? No answer came. But deep in the silence, each elder already knew. The galaxy would not remain the same. The forbidden archive had been opened, and the truth could never be buried again. The forbidden archive was closed, but the images it showed refused to fade from the minds of those who had seen them. The chamber of the council felt colder now, as if shadows from the past had crept in and taken seats among the delegates. Silence stretched until it felt unbearable, then whispers began to rise. Some voices carried fear, others anger, but all were shaken. The young races wanted answers. The elders wanted quiet. Yet none could ignore what they had witnessed. A representative from the Zethari Confederacy broke the silence first. His body shimmered like liquid metal, his voice smooth but sharp. Elders, he said, you speak of wars that happened before our time. You show us ruins, broken empires, monsters that look like humans. But legends are not proof. If this is true, then why was it hidden for so long? Why bury the memory of such an enemy? Elder Kaler fixed his burning eyes on the Zethari. Because memory itself is dangerous, he answered. The ones you call legends were real. Their power was not only in battle but in fear. Entire civilizations collapsed at the sound of their name. We buried that name to protect the galaxy, not to deceive it. If you cannot understand this, then you have never fought in the dark of endless war. Another delegate, this one from the insectoid THRYNN, clacked his mandibles together in nervous rhythm. But you said they were defeated. You said they were erased. If so, how can humans be connected to them? How can such predators return in the form of a weak, young race? His words reflected the thought in many minds. The council chamber hummed with questions. Jer leaned forward, his voice slow and tired. We did not defeat them in the way you think. Their armies fell. Their fleets were destroyed. But extinction is a lie the galaxy often tells itself. Survivors hide. Seeds wait. Names change. And sometimes, something ancient is born again in another form. His words struck the hall like a storm. The younger races shivered, some denying it, some beginning to believe. Kaler's hand tightened on the edge of the table. His eyes drifted to the stars visible through the great windows. Memories flooded back, uninvited and unwelcome. He spoke not to the chamber, but to the ghosts of his past. I was there, he whispered. The room fell silent, listening. I was young then, not yet an elder. My people lived on a world rich in oceans and forests. When they came, we thought we could fight them. We had fleets, weapons, walls. None of it mattered. They burned our sky until it bled fire. They broke our oceans until nothing lived. I watched them walk through cities filled with screams. They did not fight to conquer. They fought to erase. The chamber grew still. Even the youngest delegates could feel the weight of his memory. One small delegate from the Yari Alliance finally asked, How did you survive? Kaler closed his eyes. Because we ran. Because the galaxy united against them. Because their hunger became too great and their war too wide. In the end, they collapsed under their own fire. But not before they destroyed more than you can imagine. That was when the Council was born. Not for peace. Not for order. But to make sure nothing like them would ever rise again. The weight of his confession settled heavily on all present. The aides exchanged uneasy glances. They realized now that the Council itself was a scar from that old war. And if humanity truly carried the same blood, then everything they had built was under threat once more. A sharp voice broke the silence. It was the delegate from the Goran Empire, his scales rattling with rage. Then we must act now. If what you say is true, we cannot wait. Humanity must be destroyed before they learn what they are. Before they remember their name. Erase them now, while they are weak. His words ignited the chamber like fire. No! Shouted another voice, high and defiant. It came from the small feathered envoy of the Clary. Destroying them may be the very act that awakens them. If we strike first, we confirm the fear. And what if we are wrong? What if humans are not the same? We would have killed a young race for nothing. The chamber erupted in arguments. Shouts overlapped. Fists struck tables. Claws scraped against metal. Sparks of anger and terror filled the air. For every delegate who demanded humanity's destruction, another called for caution or study. Some whispered that humanity could be used as weapons, turned into soldiers under the Council's control. Others whispered that such arrogance would only doom them all. Through the storm of voices, Elder Jur's hand slammed against the table, sending a shock of light through the chamber. The noise died instantly. His voice cut like a blade. Enough. You do not see the danger. War whispers again. The galaxy stands on the same path it walked 10,000 years ago. And you argue like children about who will hold the knife. He drew a deep breath. The name is not yet spoken. But when it is, the galaxy will remember what it tried to forget. Pray that humans never hear it first. The chamber darkened. The whispers continued, softer now but heavier with dread. Outside the great station, stars burned cold and silent, as if they too listened to the secrets inside. Somewhere far away, on a small blue planet called Earth, humanity lived unaware of the storm building among the stars. But the whispers of old wars had begun to rise, and the galaxy would never be quiet again. The council chamber had become a place of endless debate. Days passed inside the great station orbiting the dying star, yet no agreement came. Some voices demanded humanity's destruction, others begged for restraint, and many remained trapped in fear. But all of them waited for one thing: the truth of the name. The archive had shown only fragments, only shadows of the past. It had told them that humanity was not what it seemed. But the real name had not been spoken. Not yet. And the silence around it was more terrifying than the word itself. Elder Jur sat alone in the chamber one evening, staring at the faint glow of the runes that still pulsed on the table. His body was weak, his breath slow, but his mind burned with memory. He whispered to himself, "We promised never to speak it again. Yet the galaxy demands it. The galaxy needs to remember." He touched the runes, and once again the symbols lit the hall. Behind him, footsteps echoed. Elder Kaler entered, his figure dark against the light of distant stars. "You should not be here alone," Kaler said. His voice was steady, though his eyes betrayed unease. Jur answered without looking up. I cannot rest. The younger races will not stop asking. And the more we delay, the more dangerous it becomes. If humanity learns the truth from another source, then all is lost. Kaler walked closer and lowered his voice. Do you really plan to speak it aloud? After all these years? Jur closed his eyes. Yes. It must be done. The galaxy must remember what it fears. The next day, the council chamber filled once more. Delegates took their seats with tense expressions, their bodies stiff with expectation. Whispers filled the air. Today the elders will speak the name. Today the truth will be revealed. When Jur rose from his seat, the whispers fell into silence. His old eyes swept across the chamber, seeing the fear on every face. His voice trembled, but it carried. You ask for truth. You demand to know why we fear humanity. Then listen, and remember. The table lit again with the glowing runes. The air vibrated, as if the symbols carried weight. Jur's hands shook, but he pressed on. Long ago, before most of your species had taken their first steps into the stars, there was a name that spread terror across the galaxy. A name that ended empires and silenced worlds. That name belonged to the predators we fought, the predators we erased. He paused, and the chamber leaned forward as one. Every ear strained. Every breath held. Jur's next words seemed to echo beyond the chamber itself. Their name was not human. Their true name was the heirs of extinction. The sound of it filled the hall like a storm. Some delegates gasped. Others recoiled. A few clutched at their heads as if the weight of the name itself pressed against their minds. The runes flared bright, then dimmed, leaving the chamber in a chilling silence. The delegates sat frozen, their eyes wide. The youngest among them whispered the words, testing their shape. The heirs of extinction. It felt wrong in their mouths, heavy with ancient memory they did not own. An insectoid delegate rose from his seat and shouted, Impossible! That name belongs to legend. You cannot mean that these fragile humans are connected to such monsters. Jur's face was grim. It is not legend. It is history. And humanity carries their shadow. Whether by blood, by fate, or by something even older, the truth cannot be denied. Kaler stood beside Jur, his voice deep and unshaken. I remember the old war. I remember the fire in their eyes, the endless hunger in their hearts. When I see humans, I see the same spark. Smaller, quieter, but growing. Already they spread to the stars with reckless speed. Already they fight wars without fear. Do you not see? The name has found them again. The chamber exploded with noise. Some shouted that the elders had gone mad, trapped by ghosts of the past. Others demanded that fleets be sent at once to burn Earth before it was too late. A few, however, sat in silence, staring into the distance with dawning horror. They believed. They understood. And they were afraid. A voice cut through the chaos. It was the delegate of the Clary, the small feathered envoy. His wings trembled, but his tone was steady. If this is true, then we stand at a crossroad. To destroy humanity is to declare war against fate itself. To leave them alone may allow the past to rise again. But perhaps they are different. Perhaps they can choose another path. His words brought brief quiet, but it did not last. The Goran representative slammed his claws against the table, sparks flying. Fool! You speak of mercy to the heirs of monsters. There is no path but blood. Destroy them now before they destroy us all. The chamber roared again, a storm of voices clashing like blades. Jur lifted his hand. His voice was soft, but it silenced the chamber. You argue as we argued 10,000 years ago. You shout the same words. But remember this, back then, it was too late. We waited too long. And the galaxy paid the price. He leaned heavily on the table, his frail body shaking. Do not let history repeat itself. For a long moment, the chamber held its breath. The name hung in the air, heavy and alive. The heirs of extinction. It was no longer buried. It was no longer forgotten. The galaxy remembered, and with memory came fear. Outside the station, the stars seemed colder, sharper, as if the universe itself trembled. And far away, on Earth, humanity continued unaware, walking deeper into a destiny they had not yet discovered. The council chamber was still echoing with the name. The heirs of extinction. Even after the delegates left, the word seemed to linger in the air like smoke from an old fire. No one could forget it now. It had been spoken, and it could not be buried again. Rumors spread through the station, carried from one envoy to another, until even the lowest aides whispered in fear. Humanity's true name was no longer secret. And with the name came questions. Questions too dangerous to ignore. Elder Gérard sat alone in his private quarters, his frail body hunched over the glowing archive. The runes shifted again, showing fragments of humanity's past. Wars fought on Earth before they ever reached the stars. Civilizations rising and falling. Weapons of fire, machines of death, oceans of blood spilled by their own hands. Gérard's voice trembled as he whispered to himself. They kill each other, yet they grow stronger. They destroy their world, yet they survive. No enemy could do worse than what they do to themselves, and still, they endure. Kaler entered quietly, his steps heavy with the weight of memory. You study them again, he said. Gérard nodded. Yes. The archive shows their history. Do you see it, Kaler? Their wars never end. They fight themselves more than any other species, but instead of dying, they adapt. They rise. Each war makes them harder, faster, sharper. That is their hidden power. It is not just in their blood, it is in their will to survive. Kaler moved closer, his eyes narrowing as the images shifted. Human armies marched across burning lands. Bombs split cities apart. Yet after each ruin, new towers rose. New voices sang. New flags waved. I see it, Kaler admitted. No matter how deep they fall, they climb again. They bend, but they do not break. That is what makes them dangerous. Meanwhile, the council was divided. Some species called for fleets to surround Earth and erase it before the humans could rise further. Others argued that such an act would only awaken the very thing they feared. Still others whispered that humanity could be used, trained as weapons, allies forged from predators. The chamber became a battlefield of words, each side convinced the fate of the galaxy rested on its plan. A delegate from the Zethari Confederacy rose during one heated session. His voice was calm but filled with menace. Do you not see the opportunity? We fear them because they are strong. But if we control them, if we guide them, then their power becomes ours. The heirs of extinction could serve as our shield and our sword. Murmurs spread quickly. Some delegates nodded. Others hissed in anger. The Goran Empire's representative slammed his claws against the table. You are fools. They cannot be controlled. Power like theirs will never serve. It will consume. If you keep them alive, you sign your own death. His words sparked fresh arguments, the chamber boiling with fear and ambition. Through it all, the humans remained unaware. On their small blue planet, they continued their lives, blind to the storm gathering in the stars. Yet the archive showed more than their wars. It showed their resilience in ways no other species could match. Plagues that should have ended them only made them stronger. Disasters that should have destroyed them pushed them to rebuild. Even in darkness, they created art, stories, and hope. Gérard studied these images carefully. They are not just predators, he whispered. They are survivors. They carry both the weapon and the shield. That is why the galaxy fears them. Kaler stood tall, his voice heavy. Fear will not stop them. Whether the council decides to kill them, use them, or leave them alone, humanity will carve its own path. That is their nature. They do not wait for permission. They take what they need. His words sent a chill through the aides who listened at the edges of the chamber. That night, secret meetings began among the delegates. Some conspired to form alliances with humanity, hoping to gain their trust before others moved against them. Some plotted in shadows to launch fleets without council approval. Others spread whispers into the wider galaxy, telling stories of the name, watching fear grow among the stars. The council was no longer united. The hidden power of humanity had already begun to divide them. Gérard returned once more to the archive. His eyes burned as he stared at the last image, a single human child standing in ruins, holding a broken banner, eyes filled with fire. "This is why we fear them," Gérard murmured. "Because no matter how many times they fall, one will always rise again. And when they rise, they will remember." The next meeting ended in chaos. No agreement was made. Fleets were quietly prepared. Spies were sent toward Earth. And still the argument raged. To destroy, to control, or to wait. 3 choices, none safe. But one truth was now clear to all. Humanity was not weak. Humanity was not fragile. They carried a hidden power that no empire could measure, a strength born from endless struggle. And if the heirs of extinction awakened, the galaxy would face not just enemies, but survivors who refused to die. On Earth, the skies were calm and the cities alive with ordinary life. Children played in the streets, workers hurried to their jobs, and leaders argued about trade and borders. Humanity was unaware that, far above them, their name had been spoken and their fate debated. But secrets do not stay hidden for long. When the council divided, someone broke the silence. A message slipped through the shadows of the galaxy, carried by unknown hands, and reached the planet called Earth. The message was simple. It told humanity what the council had discovered. It told them of the archive. It told them the name. At first, disbelief spread. Leaders of Earth read the words and laughed nervously. The heirs of extinction? What kind of name is that? Some alien trick. Some way to scare us. Yet the message carried evidence, images of old wars, ruined worlds, and the words of the elders themselves. The laughter faded quickly. In its place came silence. Then anger. The council had feared humanity might remember. But it was not memory that woke in them, it was fury. To learn that the galaxy trembled at their existence, that secret meetings were held to decide their destruction, was not terrifying to humanity. It was insulting. They had struggled too long, fought too hard, to accept being judged in shadows by strangers. Across Earth, governments united in ways they never had before. Enemies sat together at the same tables. Rival flags lowered as one banner was raised. Humanity had been threatened, and history showed one truth: humanity did not kneel. In underground bunkers and orbital stations, generals and scientists studied the message. They replayed the images of ruined empires again and again. "If they fear us this much," one general said, "then we are not weak. If they prepare fleets against us, then we must prepare faster." Factories turned silent nights into roaring fires as weapons were built. Engines lit up as hidden warships rose from secret hangars. Humanity had always planned for war against itself. Now those plans turned outward, aimed at the stars. Among the people, fear was quickly replaced by determination. Soldiers volunteered in numbers never seen before. Engineers worked without sleep. Pilots trained day and night. Humanity had always been divided, but the Council's fear had done what no leader on Earth could: unite them. In the halls of the United Earth Assembly, a woman stood before the leaders of every nation. Her voice carried across the chamber and into history. "The galaxy calls us predators. The galaxy calls us the heirs of extinction. Let them. If they come with war, then they will learn we do not run. We do not hide. We fight. And we win." The chamber erupted with thunderous approval. Humanity's path was chosen. Meanwhile, in the shadows of space, small human scout ships tested their reach beyond familiar stars. They avoided council patrols, slipping between borders unseen. They carried no flags, no signals, only silence. Their orders were clear: watch, listen, and prepare. Every new world discovered, every enemy ship tracked, every weakness noted. The galaxy thought it watched humanity, but now humanity was watching back. Back in the council chamber, whispers of Earth's sudden movement reached the delegates. Reports arrived of fleets being constructed, of planets fortified, of soldiers drilled in endless numbers. Some delegates grew alarmed. "It has begun," they said. "They are awakening." Others scoffed. "Their ships are crude. Their weapons are nothing compared to ours. They cannot stand against the galaxy." But the elders did not share their confidence. They remembered how the old predators had risen. Small at first. Mocked. Ignored. Until it was too late. Elder Kaler spoke with grim certainty. "You do not understand humanity. You see their weapons. You see their technology. But their power is not in machines. It is in their spirit. Once provoked, they will not stop. Once united, they will not fall. This is their nature. This is their curse. And it will become the galaxy's curse as well." Back on Earth, messages spread through every channel, every screen, every voice. Humanity was told the truth. They were feared, they were hated, but they were also strong. And strength had always been their answer to fear. Across cities and colonies, a single phrase began to rise on banners and walls: "We are human. We survive." In orbit, fleets grew larger. On the ground, soldiers trained harder. In laboratories, scientists unlocked new engines, new weapons, new defenses. Humanity no longer waited for the Council to decide. Humanity was preparing not to defend, but to strike. For the first time, they looked to the stars not as explorers, but as hunters. The galaxy had trembled when their name was spoken. Now it would tremble again, for humanity had heard it too. And they did not fear it. They embraced it. The news of humanity's awakening spread faster than light across the stars. Every faction, every empire, every outpost in the galaxy heard whispers of Earth's sudden unity and rapid preparation. Some dismissed it as exaggeration, claiming humans could never rise to threaten ancient empires. But others believed, and fear grew like a fire without walls. Within weeks, the Galactic Council itself began to fracture. In one chamber, delegates argued louder than ever before. The Goran Empire demanded immediate war. Their representative slammed his claws against the table, sparks flying. "They are building fleets," he roared. "They are preparing for battle. We warned you this would happen. Crush them now before their fire spreads." The Clarion Voy, feathers trembling but voice strong, answered sharply. "And what then? Do you not see? If we strike first, we become the monsters we fear. Humanity will rise stronger from the ashes, just as they always have. Destroying them may be the spark that sets the galaxy ablaze." Voices clashed, rising in anger. The Zethari Confederacy spoke with cold calculation. "We should not destroy them. We should claim them. If we extend alliance, if we offer them power, their hidden strength can serve us. Imagine the heirs of extinction standing at our side. No empire could resist us." Many delegates murmured in agreement, tempted by the idea. Others hissed in disgust, horrified by the thought of predators turned into soldiers. The chamber became a battlefield of words, but beneath the noise, silent alliances began to form. Secret messages were exchanged between factions. Some empires pledged to join forces against humanity, to strike together when the time was right. Others began sending envoys to Earth in secret, hoping to earn trust before rivals could. And some watched and waited, unwilling to move but unwilling to ignore. Elder Gerer sat quietly through it all, his old eyes heavy with sorrow. He knew the council was breaking apart. It had been built to unite the galaxy against one threat, but now that very threat had returned, and unity was collapsing. Elder Kaler leaned close to him and whispered, "Do you feel it, Gerer? The galaxy is walking the same path again. Fear has divided us, and soon the stars will burn once more." Outside the council, chaos grew. On border worlds, rumors sparked riots. Colonists feared human fleets would soon appear, and some fled deeper into safer systems. Merchants whispered that Earth was trading for rare metals and building weapons at a speed no empire could match. Even among great armadas, captains argued, should they prepare to fight or prepare to run? In hidden space, humanity watched. Scouts returned with data of council divisions, and leaders on Earth smiled grimly. The galaxy had split itself, just as they expected. Some enemies had shown themselves openly. Some would come offering alliances. Others would hesitate until it was too late. Humanity saw opportunity in every fracture. On Earth, a secret council of human leaders met in a secure chamber deep beneath the surface. Holograms of fleets and alien territories floated above them. One general pointed to the glowing map. The Goran Empire will strike first. Their rage makes them predictable. The Zethari want to control us. They will reach out with offers soon. The Cleri are divided but cautious. If we move fast, we can shape the field before they decide. The leaders nodded. Humanity was not only preparing for defense, they were preparing to play the galaxy's divisions against itself. Meanwhile, in the Great Council Station, debates turned into threats. The Goran representative accused the Cleri of weakness. The Zethari accused the Elders of cowardice. Old rivalries surfaced, and long-buried grudges returned. The council no longer spoke as one voice. It was breaking apart, each empire looking to its own survival. And in that fracture, humanity saw its chance. Kayla rose during one chaotic session, his voice carrying above the noise. Fools! Do you not see? You are repeating the same mistakes as before. Fear has divided us once more, and while we fight each other, humanity grows stronger. This is what happened in the First War. We argued, we delayed, and by the time we acted, it was too late. But his warning was drowned by shouts. No one listened. Beyond the council, fleets began to move. Borders closed. Empires fortified their defenses. Yet instead of facing humanity together, they prepared to face one another. The galaxy divided into three great camps: those who wanted to destroy Earth, those who wanted to control it, and those who wanted only to survive the storm. Juror sat in silence, watching the chamber crumble into chaos. His heart felt heavy, for he knew the truth. The galaxy was already lost. Not because humanity had risen, but because the council had fallen apart. The moment the name was spoken, unity was shattered. Now war was only a matter of time. Far away, on the blue planet at the center of it all, humanity sharpened its blades and lit its engines. The galaxy thought it was dividing itself to choose a path. Humanity knew better. The division was their victory. The predators had returned, and the hunt had already begun. The galaxy waited in fear and silence. Fleets stood ready at borders, weapons charged, shields humming. The council had broken, alliances shattered, and old enemies faced each other again. But all eyes were still on Earth. Every commander, every emperor, every elder wanted to know the same thing. What would humanity do? The answer came not with words, but with fire. In the cold darkness beyond the Orion Arm, a fleet appeared where no patrol expected. Dozens of ships, black as shadows, emerged from the void. They bore no signal, no warning. They moved with purpose, swift and silent. Their engines burned with new power, a technology no one had believed humanity could master so soon. At their head was the battleship Resolute, its steel hull scarred but strong, carrying the first strike of a species once underestimated. The first target was not a world of the weak or the innocent. Humanity chose carefully. They struck a fortress of the Goran Empire, the loudest voice demanding their destruction. The fortress was thought unbreakable, a station wrapped in layers of armor, with fleets guarding its gates. But when the human fleet arrived, they did not hesitate. Missiles screamed across the void. Railguns thundered. Plasma fire burned brighter than the stars. Within minutes, the fortress shields cracked, and the fleets that stood against humanity faltered. The predators had returned, and their prey did not understand the hunt until it was too late. Across the galaxy, sensors lit up. Reports flooded into the council chamber. Delegates shouted in disbelief. Impossible! They should not have this power. Their ships should not move so fast. Their weapons should not pierce our shields. Yet the evidence was undeniable. The fortress of Gorin burned, its proud walls broken, its fleets scattered like dust. Humanity had shown its teeth, and the galaxy trembled. On Earth, leaders watched through secure transmissions. The strike was not just a victory. It was a message. Humanity had chosen to act first. They would not wait to be judged, or to be struck down. They would decide the battlefield, they would set the terms, and they would remind the galaxy why the old name still carried terror. The response was chaos. The Gorin roared in fury, vowing revenge, calling for every empire to unite against humanity. But many were silent. The Cleri hesitated, torn between fear and caution. The Zethari began secret talks, wondering if they could still bind humanity with promises instead of chains. Smaller factions panicked, retreating into deeper space, hoping to be forgotten. The galaxy was dividing further, and with every fracture, humanity grew stronger. On the battlefield, survivors of the Gorin fleet spoke in whispers that spread like wildfire. They described how human ships fought without fear, how they ignored pain, how their strategies seemed born not of computers but of instinct. One captain swore he saw human soldiers boarding ships, fighting with a ferocity no machine could match. They do not fight to survive, he said, voice shaking. They fight to dominate. They fight as if the stars themselves belong to them. In the council, Elder Kaler stood once again before the delegates, his voice grave. The first strike has come. You laughed when I warned you. You doubted when I remembered. Now you see it with your own eyes. Humanity is not rising. Humanity has risen. And if we cannot stand together, then soon there will be nothing left but their shadow across the stars. His words echoed through the chamber, but still the council argued, fear pulling them in every direction. Some demanded vengeance. Some begged for surrender. And some, in silence, prepared their own defenses, knowing the storm could not be stopped. Meanwhile, humanity celebrated but did not rest. Factories roared louder. Engines burned hotter. New fleets were launched, larger and stronger than before. The first strike was only the beginning. On every screen across Earth, one message was repeated again and again. We are human. We survive. We conquer. The people believed it, and their enemies feared it. In the farthest reaches of space, small colonies that once ignored Earth now reached out. Some begged for protection. Others offered supplies in exchange for alliance. Humanity accepted carefully, expanding its reach while appearing merciful. But the truth was clear. They were no longer a small, overlooked species. They were predators awake once more, and their hunt had only started. As the flames of the first strike spread across the galaxy, silence filled the void. Every empire now understood what the council elders had feared. The predators had not died. They had not been erased from history. They had only been sleeping, waiting for their time. And now, that time had come. The galaxy shook in terror. Not because of what humanity had done, but because of what they would do next. The first strike was not an end. It was a beginning. A whisper turned into thunder. A spark turned into fire. The heirs of extinction had remembered their true name, and the stars themselves would bear witness to the storm that followed.